The occupant. The occupant begins with a quick introduction to the protagonist, Abby, although it is quite a few months before the main story of the film takes place, as she is seen spending her days with her elder sister, Beth. The sisters have recently lost their mother and are trying to cope with the loss together and supporting one another emotionally. Abby feels overwhelmed at how Beth has very lovingly and almost spontaneously taken over the role of being her nurturer and protector. And so she is extremely broken by what happens a few months later. Beth suddenly falls sick and is diagnosed with an advanced stage of leukemia, and even the best hospitals are unable to guarantee she'll be cured. The doctor makes it obvious to the family that the illness itself, together with some more medical complications, means that it will be impossible to save Beth, and advises Abby and her father to spend as much time with the patient as they can, preparing for her passing. However, Abby refuses to give up so easily, and she is confident that there is still some way for her to save her sister. Thus, she decides to get Beth admitted at a foreign clinic that is known for some new and unconventional treatment, and she does not care about this treatment being often considered unethical. But before Beth can be moved, Abby has to earn the money required for this extremely expensive treatment, and so she decides to take up a potentially risky job, making use of her profession as a geologist. She starts working for a private metal mining company and has to fly to a remote location in Georgia, close to the border with Russia. Here she is given the task of walking through predetermined sectors and looking for uranium deposits so that the company can mine the radioactive metal and sell it to clients. Abby's desperation to earn enough cash in a short time is evident from her decision to look beyond her specified sector, and on one such occasion, she finds a unique and strange-looking piece of rock. She runs a few tests on the rock by herself, not yet reporting or handing it in, as she hopes to name her price for it accordingly, but is unable to find any details about it. But before she can carry out any more research, Abby is informed by her father that he is pulling Beth out of the hospital and bringing her home to let her die in peace and amidst familiarity, as per the advice of the doctors. Abby is not at all happy at this development, and she immediately decides to fly back and intervene, still hoping to cure Beth's cancer. However, things go from bad to worse for Abby when her helicopter mysteriously crashes, and she is left the lone survivor in the vast snowy expanse. The helicopter crash that strands Abby in the middle of nowhere, very close to the Russian border. We later learn that other aircraft have also gone down around the same area, which simply cannot be coincidental. It is made very evident that the protagonist finds herself in such a dangerous situation only because she had picked up the strange rock. Abby has just used the rock to her advantage to climb up a hill face, since the rock itself is later revealed to be a sort of sci-fi element that is alive and is able to connect with various other forms of nature to form a kind of entity. After realizing that the walkie-talkie carried by her now deceased pilot is still functional, and after establishing communications with an American pilot named John, Abby takes a long and dangerous walk toward the latter, who is supposedly also lost and stuck in another section of the region. On her way, Abby soon runs into a Russian soldier who orders her to drop her weapon but gets shot by her first. The soldier was clearly lost and trying to get to safety himself, although there are Russian outposts only some distance away. The soldier eventually vanishes into thin air, unless he gets covered by the snowstorm or falls into some ditch. It is more convincing to think that the soldier was a creation of the seemingly helpful but ultimately evil voice, John, and the supernatural entity that he actually is. The purpose of this creation was probably to lure Abby toward the cave and to execute the entity's plan with regards to her. While Abby had decided to carry the rock with her, Thinking of its value in a cosmetic sense, she gradually realizes that her discovery of the material could make her unimaginably rich if she can take it back to her country. However, before she can do any of that, she also realizes that the rock is causing all the troubles and obstacles in her way, like by attracting the mysterious swarm, and so she throws it away simply to get rid of its unusual powers. The voice of John that is heard and followed by Abby ultimately turns out to be that of a supernatural entity whose exact nature is also not made very clear. The rotten dead body of John Fisher is indeed seen inside the cave when Abby falls into it. John is now a part of the entity, and it is suggested that his body or being itself can break into pieces and become the swarm that keeps flying around the area. From a science fiction perspective, this entity can be looked at as an evil creature that intends to prey on humans who are literally lost in the valley and lure them in to take over their bodies and souls. It has typically predatory characteristics, as if it enjoys hunting humans and taking over them. It chooses a known language and even a name that would be familiar to communicate with each target. Therefore, it uses the identity of John, an American pilot, to lure in Abby. The entity's main purpose is to take over fresher human bodies, and so it gives Abby the choice of either giving herself in and succumbing to its control or facing death under the harsh climate outside the cave. It literally keeps looking for an occupant for the cave as the mysterious black material seems to feed on human bodies. This is why small pieces of it are seen attaching. Once Abby realizes that the goal she was pushing for is not going to be achievable, she pushes herself out of the cave, refusing to give herself up to the entity. She now actively chooses to return to Beth, solely to accept her fate and spend as many days as possible by her side. Thus she returns home just in time, as Beth is now at the very end of her life. The occupant ends with Abby and her father lying beside Beth on her bed as the woman tragically takes her last breath. Although there is no triumphant end for Abby, what matters is that she is together with her family at this grievous time,